Welcome to the Ultimate Farm Wife podcast. On this channel, we're going to be discussing all things marrying a farmer, moving to the land, and becoming integrated with a family farming operation. Whether you're moving to the farm for the first time or whether you're moving back into a family farming operation, we discuss the ins and the outs of all of it. So let's jump into today's episode. Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Ultimate Farm Wife. I'm your host, Katja Williams, and today we're talking with Raz. Raz, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. Can you please introduce yourself, your family, and your farm?
Yeah, so I'm Raz, as everyone calls me. Elena is my front name, but no one ever uses that. My family is my husband and I, is our whole family unit, and we have an organic beef cattle property between Blackall and Buckle, which is about an hour and a half sort of southeast of Longreach, if that sort of gives some context, out in that sort of area.
Yeah, amazing. I love that area very much. And yeah, it is. So tell me a little bit about growing up. Where are you from and how did you meet your husband?
I actually grew up, we had sugarcane on the coast at Bargara. We had sugarcane and small crops, and then we sold that and we were on vineyards after that and moved around. And I'd sort of was in Bargara, and then we're in Gundagai, and then I went to Bathurst, and then I sort of bounced around a few places, and I went to Bathurst for uni, so I did that, and then was working in Bathurst and around New South Wales, and I met my husband, who was in Blackall working at the time, and it's his favourite story, but we met on New Year's Eve under the Sydney Harbour Bridge, or each other's midnight kiss. Ooh. And I left that, was like, my friend's like, oh, that guy. I was like, I'll never see him again. And now I can't shake him. So, but he tells it a lot more romantically than me. But so yeah, we met, and then we did distance for a while, did back and forth to Blackall. His family are in Forbes, so we sort of based between Forbes and Bathurst for a bit. And then we just decided one day, we're like, you know what, I actually think Blackall's where we should be. And we bought a house and cows and a property, and in that order. And now we're here.
Yeah. Oh, I love that very much. We're going to come back to that part of the story in just a little bit, but let's start off with what it was like growing up on a sugarcane farm. Like, that's amazing. That's not something that I hear very often.
We were really fortunate. So it was a family farm. So my grandparents and my dad has two brothers and a sister. So the sister was on the farm, but the two brothers were, and all the wives were there. But it was basically all of our family, all the cousins, everyone lived on this one road, and we called it the home farm. So the home farm was there, and then we bought another one later on. But all the cousins after school would go to Nana's house, and she'd take care of us all, and me, my sister, and all the parents would go and work, and then they'd come and pick them up. And so we had a really close family unit growing up, and you sort of, like, all our cousins are like siblings because we grew up together. But yeah, you get in a fair bit of mischief.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it was pretty loose, especially back in those that, like, and we weren't allowed in the sugarcane, obviously, for safety reasons, but because we're kids, you do, and there's birds, so we'd like neck to toe cover ourselves, and then we'd like be standing next to it and be like, throw that, because the sugarcane's like 10 meters from your house. So when you're burning and everything, it's like 10 meters from your house. So we'd like have a football and accidentally throw it into a sugarcane, like, oh, got to go in. And yeah, so, but no, it was good. It was really interesting. And it's obviously changed a lot now. Like, they don't do the big burns they used to and things like that. So, but yeah, it was really good. I loved it.
Amazing. And so then you were saying you were studying down in Bathurst. So what was the degree that you did at Bathurst? Was that at CSU?
Yes. Yeah. So I did social science down at CSU, and then I did a postgrad. So I majored in welfare, and then I did a postgrad that in criminal intelligence that I didn't end up wanting to use. I sort of veered to more towards the welfare side of it, and was doing that. I've been in that sort of industry for maybe 8 years or so when I met Sam, and then everything changed.
Yeah, amazing. So you're living in Bathurst doing your degree. He's sort of backwards and forwards from Forbes, his family property, why did you decide to, not go back to his farm or go back to your farm? Why Blackall? What was the decision behind that?
Well, we'd sold my farm, so not an option. So that was an easy one. We thought about it. And that was originally why we did distance for a while, and then he moved down to Forbes full time, and we were kind of like, oh, this is the way we could go. And he's an only child, so he would just have to walk in and it was there for him, sort of thing. And he'd always been a big part of the farm and really interested in cattle. Like he wanted to be a grazier. So we really looked at that option. But the way his family farms and the way he and I like to farm is very different.
Mm-hmm.
And we all very much appreciate that we have different styles. But so that was always in the back of your mind. But more than that, like Blackall was just the community that was here was a community that we couldn't find it. Like it was just, and I'd always said, like I remember when I was moving, because by the time I was moving, my parents, my sister and everyone had moved down to Melbourne. So they're all in Melbourne or in Bathurst. And I'm like, I'm going to move to Blackall, yay. My mum's like, oh my God. She was like, why is my baby girl moving so far away? She was devastated. And she said to me, she's like, why Blackall? And I was like, I can't explain it. It feels like home.
Yeah.
And it was the community and the people and just, and yeah, if we were here and not doing agriculture, we'd still be here. Like it was really that draw. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you found somewhere that feels like home for you guys as well.
Mm.
So talk me through the next steps of leaving Forbes and, the quick succession of house cattle farm. Tell me about that.
Well, we actually bought the house before we moved, funnily enough. We had been visiting, and there was this cute little house, and I love old things. It was built in like 1914. So I was like, it was. So yeah, we'd signed the contracts on the house before we'd even moved up here. So that was a bit of an impulse buy, but I don't regret it all. And then we were here maybe a year or so. So then we got married. And then probably a year or so in, we decided we were going to start our cattle empire. Like, this is going to be great. Got a lease place sort of up in bushranger country down towards like on the road to Adavale, which anyone who knows the area knows that's proper bushranger country. So, but beautiful. So we got a lease property there. We're like, yeah, this is going to be it. Like, we're going to take over the world. But it was the 1819 drought. So that empire quickly collapsed around us. We bought 250 head off the bat and was like, yeah, we'll build from here. And within about 6 months, we had 60 left and had created a hole of debt that we were like, oh God, what have we done? And yeah, we'd actually planned. So we had a wedding, we had a friend's wedding, and it was at Stratty near Brizzy. So the whole community like everyone's going because it's a local wedding, so everyone's going to the beach. And we had the cattle, the last 60 head booked to go on a truck the following week. And we're like, you know what, let's just go to the wedding, have a good time. And when we come back, that's it. Like, we gave it a shot and it is what it is. Like, we tried. And when we were at the wedding, it started raining. And by the time we came back, and yeah, and that rain actually turned out to be probably a bit more than what was ideal, but but that's all right. It got us, in our, for other people it wasn't, and that really hurts, because that was, anyone who's following along, that was the Julia Creek rain. That was that season. So, which obviously we didn't have that extent of it, but there was enough on the wheat cattle that there were people that we cared, like our neighbours losing hundreds, and the only thing that saved us was the fact that we'd already destocked all but the last 60. So yeah, by the time we got out there, we lost a couple of dams, but other than that, like, we could keep these 60 and rebuild from there, and basically just traded ourselves out of a hole, and eventually it took about 2 years to find somewhere that suited us to buy, because we wanted to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately for us, the neighbours we had when we were leasing, we would not be still doing cattle if we didn't have them. Like, they just were so incredible and so supportive, and just like they were. And we don't have family here, but we have people that feel like family and people we can call on, and what they gave us at a time that was so hard for us. Like you can never repay that. Like we were so lucky to have the people around us we did. And then, then we started looking to buy a place, and we spent about 2 years looking and getting close, and then something would fall through and this and that. And obviously, within our budget, you're never going to be buying massive cattle stations. But we really wanted, like, water was a big one for us because we'd had dams before and been pulling things out of bogs, and that's a nightmare in itself. So we ended up finding this beautiful gem of a place that had a bore, that has highway access, and we went for it. Unfortunately, because my husband didn't really want to like start telling people that we were looking. He's like, oh, we'll just quietly look. And it'd been like 2 years. And I was like, nah, stuff it. I was like, I'm telling everyone, I don't care. I was like, I want everyone in the district to know that I want a property and this is what we want. And we're just going to put it out in the universe. And we put it out there. And within a few weeks, a friend who was an agent had called us and said, I've got clients who have something that it's probably wasn't in the direction that we were thinking we would go, like probably on the opposite side of town. But he said, look, they're keen for a private sale if you can figure it out. And we went back and forth and we ended up getting it. Unfortunately, it was the end of that drought, and it was before prices sort of went ridiculous out here, so we could get a foot in the door. And we just happened to get lucky, I guess.
Yeah. I love that. Got to put it out there to start receiving. Yeah. Definitely got to put it in the universe. I love
Tell
that.
everyone.
Where heritage and legacy intersects with the fashion world. Homestead Road is founded by fifth-generation wool producer Bridget Brooks, built on the values of versatility, quality, durability, and sustainability. Homestead Road's mission is to educate, connect, and celebrate rural women by creating timeless, modern, and effortless wool pieces that speak to the sensibility and sophistication of women on the land. After having her 4 children, Bridget learnt how important clothing and fashion can make you feel after your body and identity changes. Bridget found a gap in the merino activewear market, as many of the other pieces already on the market were either very technical or pretty plain, which is not what her pieces are about. They are effortless and modern athleisure pieces that can be taken from day to night, task to task, as is the busy life of multitasker rural women. Bridget has given the absolutely fabulous listeners and the ultimate farm wife listeners a 40% discount code. Thank you so much, Bridget. That code is Katja40, so Katja, Katja 40, and that expires on the 31st of October 2025. So log on to the website, which is in the show notes below, and get yourself some Homestead Road pieces that will be part of your wardrobe for years to come using the discount code. So let's rewind just a little bit, because I wanted to double
Did I get carried away?
No. I just want to double click on something. Because a lot of the Ultimate Farm Life audience, some of us have not had that agricultural background before or haven't gone through their first drought. And then there's others in the community where we've been there, we've done that multiple times. And sometimes I think when we've been there and gone through it, we're very easy to sort of seal that off and just keep going. And I want to make sure that we're leaving a little bit of a resource for those who are going through it for the first time to hear about what helped when we were going through just like one step after the other, day after the next, like what helped you and Sam pull through, what helped you keep your positivity and to still know that this is what we want to do. How are we going to make sure it works? Like, I know that sometimes there's a voice in the back of our head that goes, this is not going to work. Why are you still here? But why were you still there?
Yeah. And I guess we obviously had a different context in that we were just starting, like we weren't trying to hold on to a generational property or anything. We were like trying to get off the ground, and then we sort of got there and we're like, why why, what have we done? Like there was a property waiting for us down south that we could have just walked onto, and we're like, oh, stuff it, let's leg it up north. So yeah, we did question our choices sometimes, our sanity. But no, I think like, and don't get me wrong, as much as we, laugh and stuff about it now, we had some really horrible days. There were tears in the paddock. Like there was some really and because like you have a duty of care to these animals, and when you feel like you're not providing that for them, like you feel like you're failing them, and it just breaks your heart. Like, and to see everyone going through the same thing, you just, oh man, it kills you. It absolutely kills you. But we, yeah, I think like, and we got lucky. We got really lucky with that bit of rain, but like we were ready to just be like, oh, well, we tried. What are we going to do, sort of thing. But I think you got to talk to people. Like everyone's going through it, and everyone likes to like, I don't like it. It's almost like an embarrassment. Like you're embarrassed to say that it's gotten to this stage. So, but you just have to put your pride aside. Like, don't be embarrassed, because we're all in the same boat and we're all doing the same thing, and you don't know whether your story is going to help someone else. And we couldn't afford to feed, so we were never feeding cattle, and the property was an hour and a half down black soil, so we just couldn't do it every day. Like there wasn't an option to feed. So, and that's, in hindsight, was a bit of a blessing, because it meant we had no choice but to destock early, and it was only the strong cattle left that sort of survived. But I think you just need to give yourself some credit in that you're doing the best you can with what you've got. Mm-hmm. And it's going to impact, like we've made the mistake. So obviously going through that, we then bought our property, and it started raining. Like we had some great seasons, but because we'd been caught before with no feed, and we were so nervous and anxious about that, we became grass hoarders, and we had all this buffalo grass up in the back paddock, and it just went rank, because we're like, we can't, like, we'll save it because we might not have it. But like you've just created a different type of drought for yourself, because you can't feed your cattle rank feed either. So I think you can't be too hard on yourself. And I think it's like, and all droughts are different as well. Like it's like we rolled into a protein drought last year, and neither of us had experienced, we didn't know what was going on. So that was a learning curve as well. But I think so we still, the 60 that we had, we've still got about a dozen of them. And there's one in particular that, her name's Thirsty, and I love her, and she's my honey. And we happened to find, she got herself into a paddock that had no water left, and we found her like just in time and managed to get her to water, and just walked her in, and then she recovered, and then we moved to the place, and it's now beautiful and green. And she's just remembered and become really close, and we can pat her. I sit with her and we read together, and we're best friends. And I always say, people go, oh, pets don't pay the bills. It's like, yeah, but sometimes nothing does. And there better be something in that paddock you love more than money, because otherwise you're just not going to keep coming back. And I said to my husband, like, it'll be so hard when she's not there, because I look at what she's come through and just think, well, if she deserves to be here, then we probably deserve to be here too, because we've all been through the same thing. So I think people are their own worst critics. And I just think we need to, cut ourselves some slack. Like you are not your failures. Like that's just something that's happened. And failures are fine. Like I'm all for some good failures. Like hook in. If you haven't failed, you haven't really tried, have you? So yeah, I think, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think, and like, it's hard for me to give any real advice about droughts, because we've only been through the one at the start, but I'm sure there'll be other people that have far better insights. And water your garden. Oh, everyone's big on that. Make sure your lawn's green, because nothing else will be.
I let go of most of my garden, but what I did water was underneath the clothesline, because for me, when I got back in from feeding and water runs and everything else, and I just had my first baby in the drought as well. So like at the end of the day, I didn't want to be hanging the washing on the line and something to drop in the dirt. Like for me, that was the final straw. And so
it would be, you'd crack it.
So a little patch at the front door and then underneath my clothesline, because that was the thing that really got me.
Yeah. It's like hooking your shirt on barbed wire fence on the way through. And for whatever reason, that moment, you're just like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Like, oh, gosh.
Absolutely. I'm glad to hear that there was lots of lessons that you have learnt along the way. Very steep learning curve. Let's talk momentarily about debt, because for a lot of us and a lot of the listeners, particularly if you haven't been from that family farming background where you've been in charge of the books and you've made these decisions, debt a lot of the time can feel smothering. And I remember going to a conference, and I think it was Claire Booth, who is also an Ultimate Farm Wife alumni. She's had a previous episode with us back in season 1. She said, you know, debt, is the debt controlling you, or are you controlling the debt and you're using that to push you forward? And I just, at the moment that she said that, that's what I needed to hear, because when you buy into a farm, or you're taking up the debt in the farm itself, if you're coming back into the family farm and succession, everything's gone through, to actually have that sit there, how do you work around that? How do you make sure that it's not all consuming? Because especially if you're a numbers person.
Yes, well, fortunately, my husband's more into numbers than I am. I always say I'm the annoying board member that just rolls in. It's like, just don't tell me how the sausage is made. Just tell me about the sausage and I'll tell you what to do with it. So
Yeah,
I just roll in. It's like, just give me the facts. Don't tell me how you got there. But I'm very big on, like, there's manageable and unmanageable debt. Like, the size of it is irrelevant. It's whether it's manageable. You know, $50 million can be manageable in right context and $20 can be unmanageable. So I think that's probably what's kept me afloat, kept us. And we are conservative. Like, if we know things are going south, we will be the first ones to destock and do things. And we, like, when we've been looking at things and we're looking at places, I'd always say to my husband when he's doing the figures, I was like, what's worst case scenario? Like, if we cannot run a single thing, how much money do we have to put? Am I allowed to say us?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How much money do we have to play up our asses to, like, just keep going, to survive, sort of thing? So, and if that's something that we can work with, which is exactly why we didn't. And even now, like I said, we bought in the time before the market just went ridiculous. So our asset is now, like, it's very secure. We've got a very secure asset, and we could use that to buy something else and to have more land and things. But at the moment, we have manageable debt, and if we took that next step, it would create those nights where you're like, oh God. And like, some people are very good at managing that stress. Like, we have very good friends that just are not scared of debt. And one time at dinner, he's like, oh no, debt's good for you. It gives you a reason to get up in the morning. It's like, oh Jesus. All right, well, I'm glad that works for you. But yeah, I think as long as it's within the manageable scope, that, yeah, it's, and both my husband and I do off-farm semi-part, like, stuff, so that there is enough income that any of the bills that we have in town could be covered with that. So, and also I think, like, we just think it's important to have something outside the farm to distract you maybe. But yeah, so it's just planning, like, and it's your context. Like, everyone's debt's a different context and everyone has a different safety net. And it is, I always think that it is such a privileged position to be in, to know that we are now in a position where if everything went south, we could walk away without debt. Yeah. Like, if we had to sell the property and leave and whatnot, which, like, the security is such a privilege, and to know that we're in a place where we have created security is just, honestly, if you had to ask me in 19, I would have said we will never be in that position. That is just, we're destined for a life of crippling debt. But yeah, so 5 years ago, this seemed like a very unrealistic place to be. But I guess, we got there.
Amazing. And so you said at the beginning that you're with an organic certified beef production. So
Yeah.
why did you go down the organic path?
Yeah. You know what? Really great question. I don't know. No, I do know. We always operated fairly organically because that's just how we are. Like we do regenerative agriculture as well. So we've always operated in that sort of space. So it wasn't a big leap. Like there was no real change in our day-to-day operating with it. So, and we looked at it sort of when we first bought the property, whether we wanted to go down that track, but it does cost money. So we're like, oh, we're probably not in a position where the money we put into it we won't get that return. And then sort of we gave it a few years and sort of got a bit steadier and a bit better on our feet. And we looked at it again, and we've diversified a bit in how we do things. So we've really cut back our breeder numbers so that we can trade and have adjustment and things to like build them up. And if we can offer organic adjustment, then that's something that's not really readily available in the area. And so that sort of makes it worth it that we can have organic cattle come through our property, like other people's organic cattle come through our property. So that really incentivized us to go down the organic path. And it's unfortunately we've never fed supplement. We've never had to feed supplements. And the first year we went organic was the first year we had to feed supplements. So we quickly found out how expensive they were.
Yeah.
that was a nice little surprise. But yeah, no, it's been good. Yeah. And it's the sort of thing, like if you do it for a few years, it doesn't work for you, just don't. Like it's that whole like I said, like neither of us are scared of failing. Like if we try organic and organic doesn't work and we fail at that, you're like, okay, well, we gave it a shot. So what of it? Like, yeah, so we'll see how the next few years go. But yeah, because this is we're about to roll into our third year of organic. Yeah.
Amazing. Great achievement.
Yeah.
Well done. Enjoying the ultimate farm life? You might also love this podcast by Katie and Eileen, Barnyard Language.
The Barnyard Language Podcast is honest talk about running farms and raising families, hosted by us, Katie and Arlene, an Iowa sheep farmer and an Ontario dairy farmer with 6 kids, 2 husbands, and a whole lot of chaos between us.
We talk to guests who have life experience that's relatable to parents in agriculture and offer resources, perspective, compassion, a few swears, and lots of laughs.
Whether your farm is a raised bed in your backyard or 10,000 acres.
Whether your family is in the planning stages or you've got a dozen kids.
If you've ever had a car seat in a combine, a stroller in a stable, or you have a toddler or a teen in your tractor, this is the podcast for you.
Subscribe to Barnyard Language today on your favorite podcast platform.
So you're talking about doing regenerative farming on your farm block. Is that what Sam's parents were doing down at Forbes, or is that another change in management style of what you two wanted to do rather than going back to the home block?
That's a very different management style. That's probably one of the main differences in operating. So just because we have different contexts of how we do things. No one's doing it right or wrong. It's just what works where you are. And even where we are, you have to tweak what regenerative is, because it's not a one size fits all. Like you see all the like sexy water projects that like on the coast that everyone's doing and stuff, and like we don't have that. Like I can't do that sort of. So you have to really like figure out what works for you in your context, which has been a real learning curve. But that's probably one of the big differences in how we operate. But all our parents are so incredibly supportive of how we do it, whether they would do it the same or agree or not. They're just like, but you're doing you, so hook in. I love that you're doing what makes you happy. And when like they'll ask lots of questions when they come out, and everyone's really interested. And so it is good. It is. We do get a lot of support. It is very different operations, but it's very supportive. Yeah.
Well, I love that you've found what you and Sam want to do together and have made it work with your block and the environment and everything that you're in. So for any of the ultimate farm wives who have married their farmer, they've moved to the farm and they're trying to find their place in the family farming business, what advice would you have for them?
Oh, Look, yeah, no, yeah, great question. You know what? I have 3 bits. Buckle in. Oh, the first, like I've already said it, like don't be scared to fail. Like just try stuff. And we're fortunate enough that we've somehow managed to become mentors or something to people that like we get asked to speak at things. And because we got up at a Lachlan Hughes Foundation thing and everyone's talking about all the great stuff we've done, and it was like our first real like jump into regen, and the whole year was just like we like I put the tractor through the feral fence, and then my husband ran over like the grid in a tractor and ripped that up, and then like we kept crashing our bikes and seats come off. Like it was just like disaster after disaster. So instead of talking about all the things we did right, we just got up, was like, here's a big long list of all the things we've failed at this year, and all the things we've learned from it has been great, because like who knows what we're going to do next year. Like we've done all this. So, and just from there it snowballed into like, yeah, and we do have the luxury that because it is just us within the family operation, we're the only ones we're accountable to. So we can make our own choices, make our own mistakes, that sort of thing. So I think, yeah, don't be scared to try stuff and fail and be different. And like we started doing regen in this area in a time when you didn't really do regen. Like you didn't talk about it. And I remember Sam being like, oh, don't really tell people. I'm like, well, man, I'm telling everyone we're doing. I'm really proud of what we're doing. And now we're like talking on panels and doing things, and it's all very exciting. And sort of you say it and then someone's like, oh, I do a bit of, you're like, yes, we all do a bit of that. Like we all just want the land to be better. Like that's all it is just wanting it to be better. And so, yeah, I think like just if you're doing things different, and that's probably the second one, is don't be scared to do things a bit differently to everyone else. Like figure out what works for you, figure out what happens, like how your environment suits you and that sort of thing. I think don't be scared to talk to people, where like open up, share your secrets, share what's hurting and helping, and like just open up to people, because boy, oh, it just looked like you were sneaking into the background. I was like, I'm done with this.
I could hear the footprints coming up the hallway.
Oh, darling. So, well, actually now it turns out I have 4, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, God. See, you shouldn't have let me be here. Yeah, don't, like, just share. Like, share your stuff, share it, be open, and because you don't know who's going to resonate with your story, and like telling your story, it makes other people feel safe enough to tell theirs. And I think that's really important, to show people that you're an open space and it's okay to have all your feelings and your thoughts and your ideas and that sort of thing. I think the last bit, which is probably the one that I needed, that sort of was like the best for me, is you like, don't underestimate yourself. Like the amount of things that I never thought I would be able to do that I can now do. And like, I'm a very sink or swim person. So a lot of the things I've learned or had to do because there was simply no one else to do it. It's just like, you got to do this because no one's coming to save you. So I think particularly women underestimate just how capable they are in certain roles, and therefore just sort of like, oh, I'll get someone else to do it. You're like, no, you can do this shit. Like you are good at this. And I think, yeah, just back yourself. Like there's nothing that you can't get your head around. And yeah, I think just don't underestimate yourself. Don't underestimate your skills, because you really can do stuff. Yeah.
I love that. Give yourself the time and the grace to sort it out, because you've got what needs to be done. You know what needs to be done. You can work it out, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. I'm done. I'm done with my biases now. Don't let me keep going.
Oh, I love that. What would you say has been the biggest hurdle, and how did you overcome it?
Oh, the biggest hurdle was probably, you know what? The biggest hurdle is probably learning in my, like the emotional side of it, because I am, and like my husband and I are both the same. We call ourselves enablers for each other because we're both very attached to our animals.
Yeah.
But I think just like it's a very tricky emotional balance with animals of doing what makes you feel good and doing what's best for them, and finding that balance and sort of learning to put your feelings aside because the animal needs you to just suck it up and, you know, do what's best for them. I think that's been the hardest part, is just, yeah, it is. And because you do put human attachment, like human emotions on animals. So you assume that because you're feeling this way, they're feeling this way, but it's not. Animals have animal feelings, and you need to do it in their context. So yeah, I think for me, just learning to separate, you know, how you're feeling and what needs to happen has been, yeah, that was quite the learning curve. Yeah.
Yeah. And any tip on doing that?
No, absolutely no tips. It doesn't get easier. It still sucks. No. No, we're very big on our duty of care is to give the animal the best life we can for as long as we can. And that's for as long as is reasonable, obviously, within your business. So as long as you're doing your best for that animal while you can, then I think that's the most important bit. So yeah, that's sort of how I come with it. But no, it's still hard and it's still sad. But if you can, if you have to put an animal down or something, and if you can do that without feeling some sort of emotion attached, you probably shouldn't have animals. Yeah, you should care. It should hurt a little bit when, you know, you've got to make tough calls. I'd question you if it didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, speaking with me and
You're
enlightening,
welcome.
you know, myself and the ad me and the other Farm Life listeners. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for having me. This is quite humbling.
Thanks for listening to another episode of The Ultimate Farm Life. If today's chat has made you smile, nod, or feel a little bit more seen in this wild rural life of ours, share it with a mate, hit the follow button, and leave a 5-star review where you watch or listen to this podcast. It's the best way to keep growing this community and showing your support for the Ultimate Farm Life podcast. A big thank you to the crew behind the scenes who are helping keep this show on the rails. To our show editor, Krista DePathra at the Rural Podcasting Network, and Lou and her team at the Administration Agency, and of course to yourselves who tune in every week. Until next time, keep your hearts full, your boots dusty, and your sense of humour close. Before you go, if you've been loving these farm life chats, I'd love for you to join me over on my other podcast too. It's called Absolutely Fabulous, where we dive into agriculture beyond the headlines and bridging the urban-rural divide. We'll deep dive into big conversations in ag, from the challenges to the highlights and what's shaping our future. It's a space where honest stories, laughter, and a good dose of farm life real talk goes on. So make sure to head to the link in the show notes, subscribe to the Absolutely Fabulous, and I'll play the intro for you now.
Hi, welcome to Absolutely Fabulous. My name is Gillian Fennell, also known as Station Mum 101. I love everything about agriculture, especially the people, and especially communicating about what makes Australian ag so special.
And I'm Katja Williams, a beef, cattle and cropping farmer, and I love all things ag, and I'm also known as the Ultimate Farm Wife. Together, we are Absolutely Fabulous, and we are talking all things agriculture beyond the headlines.
And we can't wait to give our opinion to you, and we hope you enjoy it.